political deal no one saw coming just ripped through Australia's parliament. And within minutes, it wasn't about reform anymore. It was about power, citizenship, and who actually belongs inside the system. Pauline Hanson walks into Andrew Bolt's interview ready to defend a media overhaul. But what she leaves behind is a political firestorm over Barnaby Joyce, and a constitution that suddenly becomes a weapon. One question turns into a clash. One answer turns into an accusation. And suddenly, the entire debate stops being policy and starts sounding like an exposure.
Far too big and bloated and biased, that faces a few more restrictions. Not enough, but still useful. For instance, the ABC will be told to focus more on rural and regional services. There will also be an inquiry into how it's misusing its huge power and your money to put commercial media out of business by upping the bidding on to cover sports events, for example, or by getting involved in internet media. And Parliament will be asked to change the ABC Act to say the broadcaster must now be fair and balanced as well as impartial, because it has been out of control. Joining me is the leader of One Nation, Pauline Hanson. Thanks for your time, Pauline. Before we get on to today's media reforms, I've got to ask you, should Barnaby Joyce stand down as Deputy Prime Minister or perhaps even quit Parliament?
If there is any question over his citizenship, and if he is a dual citizen, yes, he has to. Under the Section 44 of the Australian Constitution, he must stand down. He is not eligible to stand in the Parliament. And it was One Nation who actually put out the call that every member of Parliament must show their, their papers that they are not a dual citizen. If they are, they must have renounced it before nomination, and it's quite evident. That's our Constitution. And yet these people who expect people of Australia to abide by the laws, they're not doing it themselves. And I think it's terrible the way they're behaving. They're covering up each other. They're looking after each other, and I think it's wrong.
What do you think about this heated political exchange? Drop your opinion in the comments and join the debate below.
Well, he's saying like he didn't know. It's the Sergeant Schultz defence. I knew nothing. I was in ignorance, and therefore, the High Court will let me off. But do you think he should go now, or just wait for the High Court to rule?
No, look, Malcolm Roberts, my senator, we referred him to the High Court, so let the High Court make a decision with this. But Malcolm Roberts went through the procedures of renouncing his citizenship. And Andrew, that's all very convoluted too as well, because Malcolm Roberts, and I won't go into detail, but that'll come out in the High Court. It's totally different to Barnaby Joyce's case. But he's admitted he's got dual citizenship. New Zealand has said he's got dual citizenship, therefore he does not have a right to stay in the Parliament. And I do believe that they're looking at a by-election in his electorate, so they know he shouldn't be there.
What did you make of the Foreign Minister today blaming New Zealand Labor for this and saying, well, look, if they win the election next month, I don't know how I could possibly trust them?
Well, I think it's all smoke screening. I think it's ridiculous the way they're going on. And as you've said, it's on the world stage. We're looking like fools constantly all the time, with prime ministers changing over and prime ministers, and then now with the citizenship, and this one's coming out in dribs and drabs who shouldn't be in Parliament. It is a joke. We are an absolute joke. I wish they'd show some leadership and say to everyone on the floor of Parliament, right, do you have a right? Do you comply with Section 44 of the Australian Constitution? If you don't, then let the High Court deal with it. But it's ridiculous. Until this is finalised, we're going to keep going down this path, and the media, everyone else will actually be looking for who's the next one and who's the next one. It happened to One Nation in 1998 with Heather Hill, and when Senator Len Harris took up her position, because she wasn't ineligible to sit, it was Len Harris who brought to the floor of Parliament that it should be disclosed that who holds dual citizenship. At that time, it was questionable. We thought it was about 62 on the floor of Parliament. Now, They all closed ranks. They have closed ranks all these years and then don't intend to do about it. When George Brandis, the Attorney General, says on the floor of Parliament, well, if you want to accuse someone of having dual citizenship, well, it's you who have to prove that they don't have the right to stand here in this Parliament, sit here in this Parliament. Not the fact is they must produce evidence that they do have the right. So,
after the heated live exchange between Pauline Hanson and Andrew Bolt, what emerged was not just a routine political discussion, but a sharp, high-stakes confrontation over media power, constitutional integrity, and public trust in Australia's institutions. The debate opened with the Turnbull government's media reform deal, a move designed to relax ownership restrictions and allow struggling media companies to consolidate television, radio, and newspapers under unified control in the same regions. Supporters of the reform argue it is a necessary survival strategy for traditional media, which is facing intense pressure from digital platforms and declining revenues. However, critics warn that such consolidation could concentrate media influence in fewer hands, reducing diversity of voices and weakening editorial independence. At the same time, the taxpayer-funded ABC became a central point of controversy, with claims that it is oversized, politically biased, and in need of structural reform. Hanson strongly backed the idea that public broadcasting must be held to stricter standards of fairness, balance, and impartiality, arguing that taxpayers deserve accountability for the over $1 billion annually invested in it. She also supported measures that would refocus the ABC toward rural and regional Australia, claiming that metropolitan priorities have dominated for too long, while regional communities are underrepresented. The discussion intensified when Andrew Bolt raised the sensitive issue of Barnaby Joyce's citizenship status, questioning whether he should remain in Parliament under Section 44 of the Australian Constitution. Hanson responded firmly, stating that the law is clear and unambiguous. Any member of Parliament with dual citizenship is constitutionally ineligible to serve. She argued that this is not a matter of personal interpretation or political sympathy, but a legal requirement that must be enforced equally across all politicians. According to her, allowing uncertainty or delays in such cases undermines the credibility of the entire parliamentary system. Bolt challenged her position by suggesting that citizenship issues can sometimes be complex and not always intentional, but Hanson rejected that argument, insisting that leaders are responsible for ensuring compliance before taking office. She accused political institutions of protecting their own members and avoiding transparency, creating a system where accountability is applied selectively. This back and forth quickly evolved into a broader critique of political culture, with Hanson claiming that repeated citizenship scandals are damaging Australia's international reputation and exposing weaknesses in parliamentary oversight. If you found this analysis valuable, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more political breakdowns. Also, make sure to comment your opinion below. Your voice matters in this debate.